One of the challenging aspects of electric vehicle charging is the fact that there's so many different ways to do it. With combustion vehicles, you go to a gas station and you fill up. Now you might choose diesel or unleaded depending on what type of an engine you have, but it's pretty straightforward. With electric vehicle charging, it's not that simple. For public charging, there's public chargers that are on all different networks. There's different charging speed. But for the most part, the industry is kind of sorting that out now. We need more charging out there, but there's a bunch of networks that are investing literally billions of dollars, and public charging is starting to improve and proliferate across the country. Now, if you live in a private residence, it's relatively simple to install your home charging equipment, provided you have enough capacity in your service panel. But even if you don't, there's now load management systems that allow you to install a high-speed charger in your home garage, even if your service panel doesn't necessarily allow it, because it intelligently manages the power in your home. I did a video on the Emporia Pro recently that does just that. But what if you live in an apartment building or a condominium? It gets a little bit more difficult, actually a lot more difficult in those cases. And there's no real one solution for these multifamily dwellings. There's no one product that I could say, this is what you go with if you live in an apartment building or a condominium. There's a bunch of different products out there, but none of them have kind of taken hold and been like the go-to product. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to need a variety of different solutions because all these different properties have different challenges. And quite honestly, I don't envision one solution ever being able to solve all of the needs from these different properties. There's a new company called Pando Electric that just started recently, and they have a unique approach to installing charging in multifamily dwellings. And this is the unit right here. It's actually a smart NEMA 1450 outlet. While most of the other companies focusing on this segment of the market are including the charging equipment in their plans, Pando is going the route of the outlet and letting the user plug in their charging equipment. Now, what that does is it allows a much simpler system and a lower cost system for the property owners because they're not installing a row of EVSE. They're just installing NEMA 1450 outlets with some smarts inside. And when the customer comes home, they plug in their NEMA 1450 EVSE. Now, this is a Grizzly. This is a portable unit that you buy from United Chargers. But most electric vehicles today come with a portable level 1, level 2 charger. So it comes with the car. And if you're in a secure area, you just leave this thing plugged in and every night when you come home or whenever you need to charge, you plug it in. And the Pando electric box is going to intelligently manage the power and also keep track of how much energy you use so you can be billed. So today we're going to take a look at this unit here, and I'm actually going to visit a location in Brooklyn, New York. It's actually the Olympia Dumbo building, which was built in 2023. It has 76 condominiums and an underground parking lot. They originally had 10 NEMA 1450 outlets installed, but they weren't on any type of separate meter or anything. They were in the garage, and some of the other residents that don't have electric cars were complaining that these cars were charging all the time and it was going to be added to their shared common electric bill. And rightfully so. They shouldn't be paying for somebody else's energy. So Olympia contacted Pando and they installed their system there with 30 of these smart NEMA 1450 plugs. So I'm going to visit that location today and talk to a Pando representative who's going to meet me there on site. We'll see if we can learn a little bit more about this system. I also am going to open this guy up in a minute and let you guys take a look inside. So let's get into it. So first thing, I thought I'd take a look inside. And in order to do that, I had to remove 12 screws from the back of the unit. I noticed once I opened up the case, it has a nice rubber gasket. You could see it here with a deep inlay, and the cover has a nice tab that presses against that. So when this is screwed together, it has a really good tight, watertight seal. So I don't think you're going to get any water intrusion into this. I noticed the outlet here is a Journeyman Pro NEMA 1450 outlet. That's the brand, and they make industrial grade outlets, which is what this is. This actually comes with a lifetime warranty. You could buy this online, and if it ever fails, they'll replace it. It's a good high quality NEMA 1450 outlet, which I'm glad that Pando's using, because we've seen what happens when you don't use a high quality outlet. They melt with EV charging, but this should be able to handle the duty cycle of electric vehicle charging without a problem. It has a number 8 wire here, which is to code for a 50 amp NEMA 1450 outlet, even continuous load. You will notice that the wires come in, instead of going directly to the outlet, which would be the case if you were just wiring your outlet, they pass through this circuit board first, and I assume that's what will turn the outlet on and off. They'll have the app downloaded, and this will allow them to turn the charger on and also to be billed for their charging session, which the way it works currently, well, at least at the facility that I'm going to in Dumbo, Pando manages the money. They're the ones that bill the customer, and then they reimburse the property owner. But that's one thing that Pando is working on, and in the future they'll be able to directly bill the customer, or the customer will be directly billed. They won't have to go through Pando, pay them, and then they reimburse the property owner for the electricity used. What the customer does have to pay is $20 a month fee to use the unit. There's no upfront fee, so it doesn't cost you anything if you lived in a building that, let's say, had the Pando system. But it's a 20-month fee to have the app and everything, the billing system working. That's, I think, reasonable in many instances. There's no fee to use it, like to buy into the system, but it's $20 a month. And these units have a lifetime guarantee. Pando warranties them for life. So when the property owner pays for the installation of this whole system, if one of these ever breaks, Pando replaces it for free. So there's no expense there. So now let's talk about how the system works. It's not like many of the load management systems that you see currently in use, these dynamic load management systems that will distribute the available power to some of the chargers that are plugged in. What Pando does is, at least the way it currently works, from what I understand, they're going to have future iterations where it works a little bit differently. But for now, they set up charging blocks. So let's say there's 20 chargers at the location. They could set up 4 blocks of chargers, of 5 chargers. And each one of those blocks has a time when the vehicle will be able to charge in. So let's take a look at the time frame from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. the next morning. That's when most electric vehicles are being charged. The first block of 5 cars will charge from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Then the second block will start charging from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And then the third block charges from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And in those 4 hours, the electric vehicles are getting the full 9.6 kilowatts from the NEMA 1450 outlet. So they're going to get close to 40 kilowatt hour. Yes, it might not be enough. So there's ways to override the system. Now, if you need to charge longer, or if you need to charge when it's not your vehicle's time block, you can request that through the app. And there's different ways for the property management and Pando to handle it. They can just let you do it for free. They can charge a small fee. They can say, look, if you need to charge for twice as long, you're going to pay an extra $10 or something like that. That's all manageable through the system. The site I'm visiting in Brooklyn later does charge a small fee if the customer wants to charge their vehicle outside of their allotted time frame. All right, well, that's basically how the system works. Next up, I'm going to drive to Brooklyn, which is always a fun thing, going from northern New Jersey to Brooklyn. There's always traffic, but I do get to go over the Brooklyn Bridge, and we'll check out the system firsthand and talk to Joseph Nagle from Pando. All right, so I'm here in Brooklyn at the property with Joseph Nagle from Pando. Joseph, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us what you do for Pando.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the head of corporate strategy at Pando Electric. I've been in this industry for about over a decade now, helped found a few of our actual competitors. And when I met the CEO and founder, Aaron Lee, he showed the Pando solution to me, and a light bulb went off in my head for this is exactly what the multifamily space has been begging for from the industry.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you did here. I noticed there's a lot of these units. I think you have 30 of them in this garage.
That's correct.
So tell me a little bit about what you did here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at the Olympia Dumbo property in New York City, in Brooklyn actually. This property was built and they actually installed 10 dumb NEMA 1450 outlets. And for a while that worked until all of a sudden they started to notice that their electric bills kept going higher and higher and higher. And then they realized who the culprit was. It was some of these EVs here were using quite a lot of power and they were giving away the electricity for free because it's completely unmetered. So they actually found the Pando solution. They wanted to just simply replace the outlet solution that they already had, and they couldn't find a good solution until they came across Pando.
There are other solutions out there. This space is starting to now get some traction. For a while, it seemed like people were ignoring multifamily and large, buildings like this. And I know they weren't. It was probably companies working on solutions. But why do you think they selected you? What's the advantage that you guys have over the few other companies out there doing very similar things?
Absolutely. So to date, we are the only high power, affordable, and socket-based level 2 EV charging solution on the market. So we're a full level 2 charging solution for a socket. There are some competitors who are lower power. They wanted something a little higher power because their residents, as you can see, there's some Lucids, some Teslas, some bigger battery vehicles here that they wanted to be able to fully charge overnight. Okay,
and just to clarify, just mentioned socket-based. So these units here aren't the actual EVSE. They're just a NEMA 1450 outlet integrated into the Pando solution. Hopefully a very high quality NEMA 1450 outlet. We know that the low quality one's burned up, but I know that I actually have one at home, which I took apart, and it is a high quality one. Some of the competition offer the actual EVSE, the chargers installed, but you don't do that. You have just the outlet, because most electric vehicles, pretty much all of them, not all of them, but most of them today come with a portable 240 volt charger with a NEMA 1450. So the customer then uses their charger here. One thing I noticed, this is a secured parking lot though. Yeah, underground garage, you can't, nobody gets in and out of here if they're not a resident. But in installations that aren't like this, how do you stop somebody from just stealing the customer's charger?
It's a great question, and something that we've come up with a solution for. So typically in like a public area or like an outdoor parking lot, we put in a weather cover just to make sure it's NEMA 3R compliant, which means it can be in all weather conditions. With that weather cover, there actually is a locking mechanism. So for those types of installs, if someone is concerned about safety of theft, we can lock the cable to the device, and then it certainly becomes a modular charging system.
So you said that the building had 10 NEMA 1450 outlets here already that they were charging unmetered. Now we've got 30 NEMA 1450 outlets. How did you deal with that extra potential needed capacity?
Yeah, that's a great question. So anytime we come into a building, we always look at the power capacity. This particular building only had enough power for the 10 outlets initially, but with our solution, we have an adaptive load management and daisy chaining technology that allows us to actually over install on the same circuit. So we can actually add up to 10 chargers to a single breaker. In a situation like this, we didn't actually need to do that. It's in groups of 4 or 5. And what we end up doing is we use our adaptive load management to balance out the load across all the charging stations and ensure that everybody gets a full charge by morning.
Okay, so, which will never happen. 30 Lucid Air, there's a Lucid Air right behind us, come in at once and all plug in with a low battery.
Right.
What's the least amount of power that the customer's gonna get?
For this particular property, it's always 9.6. So they'll always get 9.6 kilowatt output, which means that roughly speaking, you're gonna end up seeing these roll through in a 4-hour scenario. So 4 hours and then roll to the next, and then 4 hours roll to the next, until one of those cars leaves or gets full. So you're looking more at, can I give you enough charge in that scenario? Can I give you enough charge to get through your day or through however far you need to go? typically we don't see everybody come in at 0 all at the same time, so that's the good news.
Well, 9.6 kilowatt is the most that you can deliver from a NEMA 1450 outlet, so it won't be derated at all, is what you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay, so that I would think that this might be an unusual situation. Maybe they had a lot of power here, because I know, and I've had property managers reach out to me in New York City in the past years and saying, look, we've got 10 residents already with electric cars. We have very little capacity, and you know, if you were in a building that had not nearly this much, does it default to like 3.3 kilowatt? Like how does it work?
You nailed it.
Okay.
It actually will. So we have we have 2 settings, right? So we can do the balanced load, where it's 3.3, 3.3, 3.3, or where we just say it's 9.6 and then we rotate to the next and then rotate to the next on a timing system.
On a timing system,
yeah. So it depends on what the property actually desires. In this particular instance, they rather would have the full power for 4 hours rather than lower the power and spread it across multiple chargers.
Okay, I got that. So I know this is like a Wi-Fi mesh-based system here.
Yep.
What happens if the Wi-Fi goes down and they can't communicate to each other? How does the system work?
Great question. It's an entirely localized system. So this wireless mesh these all connect to each other no matter what, and they communicate amongst each other no matter what. So as long as the power's on, they'll continue to work normally.
Okay. Yeah. That's interesting. I honestly didn't know that's how it worked.
I have a great
I've
video.
learned something already.
Yeah, I have a great video to share with you. You can share with your audience as well to show the tests of actually how it works, because it's hard to simulate that in a real world scenario. Yeah. So we've done many tests in our lab, and I can absolutely share that video with you.
Absolutely. Another thing that I noticed that I was really surprised when I came in, none of these have any type of cable management system. And I see the cables strewn across the floor, hanging over the walls over there. Like, that's not what you want to see, to be honest with you. Why does it look like that?
In all perfect honesty, that was a choice done by the property's management association, and we did not have any say in it. And now that I see it, because this is the first time I've actually been on the site, I will probably just send them a bunch of cable management systems for free, because I don't like the way that it looks either.
Yeah. And you know, it just makes a bad experience for the owners. You know, it seems like such a minimal cost item. It might cost $20 per unit or something for you to have a cable management system put on it. Yeah. So
it's $20 for the actual cable, the management system, and then you can bring in somebody at like the site super can probably install this. So it's not that bad.
How does the customer pay for the electric? Do you have different models? How do they do it here first and then let us know?
Yeah, so each outlet actually has its own built-in utility grade meter. In the state of California, we have a CTEP certification, which requires us to be accurate down to the 4th decimal place of kilowatt hour. So we're actually accurately tracking across all of these units who's using the power, how much they used, and then we bill them at the end of each quarter and then reimburse the property for their usage.
And let's say this is my parking spot. These are all assigned parking spots here. You wouldn't, I'm not even going to mention how much they cost, but you could buy a house for what these parking spots cost. Trust me, you can. Let's say somebody comes in and pulls in my spot and plugs in the charger. Can they use my electric?
No. So each individual station is tied to each individual user in this property. We can set that up in any kind of number of ways. So if we're at an apartment complex where it's shared parking, we can set it up so you and I share this space, or you and I share all these chargers. At this particular property, it's tied to your space and your charger only, so only you can unlock that charger, or me, because I have admin access.
Well, maybe I'll pull my Equinox in and we'll do a demonstration later.
Let's do it.
How does the customer unlock it? Like, what do they have, an RFID card? Is there their phone?
Yeah, so this is our Gen 1 device, and so they use their phone. They can either scan the QR code, or they already have it. Once they have the QR code scanned, it's just automatically loaded onto their app. They can go into that particular outlet that's highlighted, open it up, and turn on the outlet, and start charging.
So we talked about how they do it here. I know that you have different models for charging the customers. Talk a little bit about maybe the property owner's options on what they can, because what works here, this is a super high-end property. It might not work in some other properties. Tell us how you charge, because a lot of people are going to be interested in hearing, well, I don't want to get this system if my customers are going to get charged too much, the people that live there, and people complain about a third party getting involved with the billing, which is you're in charge of billing here. So I know a lot of people would prefer if they can't you just tie it to my meter and let me pay. So
the answer there is today, no, I actually can't do that. It's called behind the meter. Everything behind the meter is technically owned by the utility. And so we are not allowed to mess with that. However, we want to grant through Silicon Valley Clean Energy to actually start doing testing on sub-metering. So we will be able to have, probably in sometime in 2026, the ability to sub-meter on your unit's electrical bill. So you're paying your residential rates at your parking garage in this spot, which is significantly lower than, say, the commercial rate that the building is paying right now. So you're going to see your energy costs drop significantly because it's tied back to your unit, not to the building's commercial rate.
okay. And how about warranty on these on the devices themselves? What's the warranty if they break? You know, how?
So it's a lifetime warranty. The really amazing thing, and you did a teardown, so the really amazing thing is these have been tested for 15,000 cycles. They should last over 40 years under normal usage conditions. Even in the case that it breaks, as long as you've been paying the service fee, we'll replace it, no problem.
Yeah, and that was my concern about the NEMA 1450 outlet. Most of the time, when people have a NEMA 1450 outlet in their garage, they plug their charger in and it stays there. They don't unplug it. I've noticed some of the people here leave their charger in, their car's gone. Some of them don't. They unplug it, and I guess even in this facility, they're concerned that someone might steal their charger, so they unplug it. My concern was with the NEMA 1450 outlet, that could be plugged and unplugged every day. That is not a normal use case for a NEMA 1450 outlet. Did you do any consideration with the receptacle that you chose? Was that some sort of a tested to higher standards or whatever? Because we know there's varying degrees of quality.
Absolutely.
With these outlets.
Yeah, so these have been tested to 15,000 cycles. One cycle is a plug-in and an unplug. That means that if you did that once a day, you're going to be a little over 40 years. And then they're also tested, because you mentioned that they're plugged in and just left hanging, so they're actually use tested for 14 pounds of downforce as well. So those clamps that are inside the outlet, the connectors, won't wear down with just 14 pounds just constantly pulling on them. So we've done quite a bit of testing to ensure the durability of these outlets over the long haul.
Yeah, that's another thing that I was thinking of as far as design. When I looked at the cables laying on the floor, that was one thing, the connector holster. And I also thought about the holster for the charger, because a lot of these chargers come with a cradle, these portable chargers, and I know it's not ideal to just have it hanging out of the thing. Has any consideration been made for that? Now, I know it's difficult on your end because the people are going to be using all different charging equipment. So my thought was maybe having like a pre-drilled hole on the metal so that all of them need at least one screw to screw into the wall. The cradles,
yes.
you could mount your Tesla cradle or your Lucid cradle or whatever on the wall and put the charger on it, so there is no 14 pound of downforce. Is that something that you guys have considered?
That's a great thought. We haven't considered it. So we just try to test it for like an apartment type of setting, because that's going to be your most rugged type condition. And so under those settings, we just want it to be able to be super rugged, plugged in, unplugged all the time, constant downforce, and really just beat the hell out of these outlets in the testing lab, so that when they do go out into the real world, they're ready. And again, if anything should happen to that plug, you can just call us up. We'll 24 hours overnight. These are simply outlets, so literally any electrician can replace them in like 12-hour period. It's really easy.
Yeah, no, I've seen. I mean, there's more electronics inside, but to install it is the same as installing an outlet, because you just have the three wires going into it.
Right. Yeah. You just go into one of these junction boxes and then rewire it. It should take very quick amount of time.
All right. Well, that's pretty much all the questions that I had. Seems like it's a good solution. Is it the best solution for apartments? I think time's going to tell. There are other options out there, but I like that you guys are thinking outside of the box. I know most of the other solutions included the charging equipment, and that adds expense, and it adds complexity, and it adds another potential failure point if the customer's portable charger fails, they get another one,
Yeah.
and the property manager isn't even involved with that. So maybe give me your final sales pitch on why this is better than the other units out there, and you could add anything else that you want to this conversation.
Yeah, so I think the big thing is that EV drivers truly just need access to energy. They don't need these big fancy charging systems that have all these fancy bells and whistles. Those are all nice to haves. The reality is what they really need is just somewhere to plug in and get energy. And that's what we provide. And by doing that, we actually drive down the cost to their lowest possible point, which is another big problem within the multifamily charging space. Most often than not, like this is an HOA managed property, but when we're in an apartment setting, the property owner, they want to keep their costs low, and EV chargers tend to look more and more like a very expensive amenity rather than something that should be rather simplistic and easy. So that's where Pando Electric came in and made a simple but powerful solution that not only gives EV drivers the access that they're going to need, but also takes out a lot of the expenses that the property owners don't want to pay for. The biggest being maintenance. These basically have no maintenance. I ask people all the time how often you maintain outlets at your home. I typically get a very confused, should I be maintaining that? The answer is no.
Yeah.
They just kind of hang out and do their thing. And that's the same thing that's happening here. So the reality is, like, if you live in an HOA property or you live in an apartment or you're a property owner yourself, give us a call. We might be able to bring you not only one charger, but many chargers for well lower than any of our competitors. We're right now today 50 to 70% less expensive to install, own, and operate. And then again, there's absolutely no maintenance costs.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get into saying, well, an installation costs X amount of dollars, because I know in this space, the installation costs vary so greatly, it's not even worth saying, oh, you can have this for X amount. Right. I don't even tell people what a single charger will cost in their house, because it could be $300 to install, it could be $3,000 to install. Yeah. So, if you're serious about getting something like this, contact Pando Electric. I'm gonna have a link to their website in the description of this video, and have them do a site analysis, and they can tell you what it's gonna cost more appropriately than us here on this YouTube video. All right, well, the only thing left to do now is I'm gonna get my Equinox EV and pull in, plug in, and get a little free energy before I head back to Jersey.
Let's do it.
Thanks for doing the interview.
No, thank you.
State of Charge is powered by Qmerit, North America's premier installer of electric vehicle charging equipment. After I've helped you decide which charger to buy, follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. And if you do follow that link, Qmerit will waive the $150 installation deposit. But this is an exclusive offer for State of Charge followers. So in order to get that offer, you must follow the link in the description of my videos. All right, I got my portable Ultium charger here, which I've never used. I have a couple chargers in my garage, so I don't need to use the portable one.
Perfect.
But so now, can you turn this on for me?
Absolutely. You are ready.
Okay.
Blue indicates that it is ready to go.
Blue light is on. Plug in.
You got some power.
She's powering up. Okay. Okay, we should get the GM beep in a second. There we go. That means we're charging. Okay, I think I'm gonna steal a little juice if you don't mind. I've got a 50-mile drive home, so I wanna make my drive here worth it by getting 30 or 40 cents worth of electricity out of you before we leave.
No worries, we'll top you up. Don't worry.
Listen, thanks again for doing this. I really appreciate it. Super interesting system here. I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think time's going to tell which model works the best. But I like this, what I see so far. I like the idea of bringing your own charger. I've always been a fan of how in Europe you bring your own charging cable. And that eliminates cable theft and so forth. That's the same thing here. If these were in a public place, you're pretty much going to eliminate cable theft. I don't know, I suppose the thieves could cut that 24-inch cable off, or you could just make it shorter so that they don't feel inspired to steal 2 feet of cable, copper. But you know, this way you take your charger with you if it's in a place that's not secure, and you don't have to worry about it, and nobody can use it because it gets turned on and off. One thing we didn't talk about was if the customer has difficulty with cell service at the location. I know you got cell service in here fine.
Yep.
Is there a workaround to turn on the chargers?
To date, no. So for these, we actually have to have either cell repeaters or good strong cell signal, or you have a Wi-Fi network, which does exist in this particular garage. Our next gen product, which comes out in September, will require absolutely no connectivity whatsoever. You will just walk up with your phone, similar like an Apple Pay, tap it against the top of the charger, it unlocks, and you're ready to go. And there is no cell service required.
Okay, well maybe we'll do a follow-up video once that product is available, and I'll visit a site that has it, and we'll talk about the progress you guys have made.
Absolutely.
Okay, listen, that's all I have here today on Pando Electric's interesting solution for multifamily dwellings. If this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.